I've always been a hiker. Not a casual one though. I love the solitude. I love the feeling of being a small, insignificant part of something vast and ancient. The quiet of the forest is kind of like church for me. Or, at least, it used to be. Yesterday I decided to tackle a remote section of the Greenhorn Mountains. It's a rugged, beautiful area that doesn't get a lot of foot traffic. I parked my car at a dusty trailhead, clipped my pack on, and headed into the wild. The first few hours were bliss. The air was cool and smelled of pine and damp earth. The only sounds were the wind in the trees, the chatter of squirrels, and the rhythmic crunch of my boots on the trail. It was perfect. I was about 5 miles in, deep into a section of dense, old-growth forest, when I first heard it. It was a crunch, a heavy one. Anyone who spends time in the woods learns to catalog sounds. A squirrel is a light, frantic skitter. A deer is a delicate snap of a twig followed by silence. This was different. This was the sound of significant weight deliberately breaking a fallen branch. It came from somewhere off to my left, behind a thick stand of firs. I stopped, my ears straining, and scanned the trees. Nothing. I told myself it was probably a buck, a big one, and kept walking, maybe a little faster than before. 100 yards later, I heard it again. Closer this time, and it was followed by the sound of something large moving through the undergrowth. A heavy of foliage being pushed aside. My blood went cold. This wasn't a deer. This was something big. I slowly, carefully turned my head, and I saw it. Through a gap in the trees, maybe 60, 70 yards back, was a bear. A big black bear. Not just big, but massive. Its head was down, sniffing the path where I had just walked. It wasn't just wandering, it was following my trail. My heart hammered against my ribs. I've seen bears before, but always at a safe distance, and they've always been more scared of me than I was of them. This was different. The way it moved, the deliberate, focused way it followed my scent. This was a hunt. Every survival guide, every nature documentary I had ever seen flooded my brain. Don't run. Running makes you prey. Don't make eye contact. Don't show fear. I took a slow, deep breath, trying to calm the frantic hummingbird in my chest. Okay. I'm okay. There's still distance. I just need to be smart. My plan was simple. Keep moving at a steady pace, putting distance between us, and slowly start to curve my path in a wide arc. The main trail back to the car was about a mile to my east. If I could circle around the bear's position without it realizing I was flanking it, I could get back on that main trail and head for safety. It was a gamble, but it was better than just walking in a straight line, leading it like the Pied Piper of doom. So I walked. The next hour was the most terrifying, mentally exhausting hour of my life. Every step was deliberate. Every rustle of leaves behind me sent a jolt of pure adrenaline through my system. I didn't dare look back too often. Maybe once every 5 minutes. Every time I did, my heart would sink. It was still there. A lumbering black shadow, moving silently between the trees, always keeping the same distance. It was patient. It wasn't in a hurry. It knew it had all the time in the world. The beautiful forest had transformed into a claustrophobic, terrifying labyrinth. Every tree was an obstacle that hid me from it, but also hid it from me. I kept moving, trying to execute my wide, circling maneuver, but the terrain was getting thicker, forcing me into narrow game trails. The distance was closing. I could hear its heavy breathing now, a low, guttural, huffing sound that seemed to vibrate through the ground itself. The pretense was over. It knew I knew, and it was done being patient. I glanced over my shoulder. It was only 40 yards away now, and it was moving faster, its walking breaking into a low, loping trot. The rational part of my brain screamed, "Don't run!" But the primal, terrified lizard brain took over. All my clever plans evaporated in a cloud of pure panic. I ran. I crashed through the undergrowth, branches whipping at my face, my lungs burning. I didn't care about the trail anymore. I just ran downhill, hoping to gain speed. Behind me, I heard the bear break into a full charge. The sound was apocalyptic. It wasn't a lumbering beast anymore. It was a freight train of fur and muscle and teeth, snapping trees like twigs, its paws thundering on the forest floor. It was gaining on me. I could feel it. I was going to die. A stupid, terrified death, torn apart in the middle of nowhere. And then I heard the whistle. It was a simple, clear tune, a lilting, three-note melody, like someone casually whistling a folk song. It cut through the chaos of the chase, clear as a bell. It sounded human. It sounded like help. My brain, desperate for any shred of hope, latched onto it. A ranger? Another hiker? Someone had heard the commotion. The whistle came again, from somewhere ahead and to my right. It was a signal, a direction. Without a second thought, I veered toward the sound. Hope gave my burning legs new strength. I scrambled over a fallen log, my eyes scanning the trees ahead for a flash of color, for a friendly human face. The bear was roaring behind me now, a sound of pure predatory fury. It was so close I can smell its hot, musky scent. "Help!" I screamed, my voice cracking. "I'm here! Help me!" The whistling continued, but it seemed farther away now. The notes were fainter, more distant. My heart sank. Was I going the wrong way? Or was my savior moving away from me? Panic surged again. I just had to be faster. I pushed myself harder, my vision starting to tunnel. The sound of the bear was right at my heels. I could practically feel its breath on my neck. I burst through a final curtain of ferns into a small, unnaturally quiet clearing. And I saw him. It wasn't a ranger. Standing in the middle of the clearing was a man, or the shape of a man. He was impossibly tall and thin, like a figure stretched out of a nightmare. He wore tattered, filthy rags that hung from his skeletal frame, and a wide-brim, stained hat was pulled low, shadowing his face. Long, stringy bone, white hair hung down past his shoulders. He was just standing there, utterly still, turned slightly away from me. He was carrying a large, heavy-looking leather sack over one shoulder. As I stumbled to a halt, my mind struggling to process what I was seeing, he shifted the bag. The top flap opened for a second, and something pale spilled out, landing on the mossy ground with a soft, wet thud. It was a human hand. My brain short-circuited. I stared at the severed hand, then at the sack, and I could subtly make out the lumpy, gruesome shapes within it. The curve of a foot, the unmistakable shape of a human femur, and another hand, its fingers curled into a fist. The stories my grandmother used to tell me, scary folk tales from her village to keep the kids from wandering off at night, crashed into my mind. The impossibly tall, thin man, the sack of bones, the whistling. El Silbon, the whistler. He turned his head slowly, and I saw his face beneath the brim of the hat. It was a ghastly, emaciated face, with skin stretched tight over his skull, and he smiled. It was a wide, horrifying smile, full of yellowed, broken teeth. He wasn't a savior. He was the thing the bear was running from. He was the thing I had to run to. The whistle hadn't been a call for help. It had been his own hunting song. A roar from behind me snapped me out of my paralysis. The bear crushed into the clearing, its eyes wild, foam flying from its jaws. It saw me. Then I saw the tall thing with the sack of bones. The bear, this massive, terrifying engine of destruction, skidded to a halt. A low, guttural growl rumbled in its chest, a sound of fear and aggression all at once. The man in the rags just stood there, his horrible smile never wavering. My survival instinct, which had already been screaming, went into overdrive. I didn't think, I reacted. I threw myself sideways, diving headfirst into a thick, thorny bush at the edge of the clearing. The thorns tore at my skin and clothes, but I didn't care. I was hidden. From my painful hiding spot, I peeked through the leaves. The scene in the clearing was a tableau from hell. The whistler stood motionless, his sack of horrors resting at his feet. The bear, driven by instinct or territorial rage, rose up onto its hind legs. It stood a full 8, maybe 9 feet tall, a mountain of muscle and claw. It let out a deafening roar that shook the very air and swiped one of its massive paws at the tall, thin man. I didn't want to see the blow land. I couldn't. I scrambled out of the other side of the bush and ran. I ran back the way I came, away from the clearing, away from the two monsters fighting for the prize. For me. I ran like I had never run in my life, my mind a blank state of pure terror, and then I heard it. It wasn't a roar. It was a scream. A high-pitched, agonized animal scream of unbelievable pain. It was the bear. The sound was cut off abruptly, followed by a wet, cracking sound that I will hear in my nightmares for the rest of my life. And then the whistle started again. But this time it was different. It was loud. It was so close it sounded like it was right behind my ear. And in that moment of ultimate terror, a fragment of the old story, the one my grandmother told me, flashed in my head. A warning. When the whistle sounds far away, he is right beside you. When it sounds close, he is far away, and you have a chance to run. I didn't look back. I just ran. I ran towards the memory of the main trail, the close, cheerful whistling, my only companion. It was my guide, my metronome of terror. As long as it was close, I was gaining distance. The thought was insane, but it was the only thing keeping me going. For 3 minutes, maybe 4, an eternity. I ran with the tune right in my ear, pushing me forward. Then I burst onto the main trail. I recognized it immediately. My car was less than a mile away. I risked a glance behind me. I saw nothing but trees. And the whistle? It was fainter now, more distant, which meant he was coming. He was done with the bear. I have never known a fear like the one that seized me then. I sprinted down that trail, my legs pumping on pure adrenaline. I could hear him coming. I couldn't see him, but I could feel his presence. A cold dread that seemed to chase me, to suck the warmth from the air. The whistling got fainter and fainter, a whisper on the wind. I saw my car through the trees. The glint of sun on the windshield was the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. I fumbled for my keys, my hands shaking so violently I dropped them twice. I unlocked the door, threw myself inside, and slammed the lock. I jammed the key in the ignition and turned. The engine roared to life. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. I couldn't. I stomped on the gas pedal, and the car shot forward, spitting gravel. I drove, and I didn't stop until I saw the lights of this run-down motel. So here I am now. I don't know what to do. How do you explain this to anyone? But I had to tell someone. I had to warn someone. The things in the woods are real. The old stories are warnings, not entertainment. And if you're ever lost in the deep, dark woods and you hear a whistle, don't run towards it. It's not a friend. It's not help. It's a lure.